Sri Lankan government's view on the developments since. I'm joined from our Ottawa studio by Chitrangani Wagheswara, who is the Sri Lankan High Commissioner to Canada. Ms. Wagheswara, the war had taken an enormous toll on the development of infrastructure in the area. How does the Sri Lankan government want to move forward in redevelopment of the infrastructure and the human development in the country, especially that were under Tamil control?
Yes, as you said, it's a big challenge. And it's now almost 1 year since the Sri Lanka military managed to defeat the terrorist group, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. As you know, last May was the tail end of the conflict. It was a very difficult time for all Sri Lankans in Sri Lanka, as well as more so, I believe, for the Tamils in the north and east, because as we know, the nearly 300,000 civilians, Tamil civilians, were held hostage by the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, and the government, the Sri Lanka military, had to free them. They were held as hostages, and in May the military managed to defeat the Tamil Tigers, and the civilians came over willingly to the government side, and from that time onwards the government has been providing all the facilities to the IDPs, the internally displaced persons. They have been in welfare camps, in welfare villages. We have provided them food, shelter, and also gradually now most of them, about 80% of the IDPs are out of the camps now. We still have about 60,000 to 70,000 who are still there, because it is not an easy task to get them to provide all the facilities like housing. We have been giving all the IDPs about rupees 50,000 each family that was going out of the welfare camps. Their house, we have received a lot of assistance from various governments and NGOs, INGOs, the Indian government as well, roofing, cement, agricultural tools for the people involved in fisheries, boats. So there is a lot of activity going on in the north, first and foremost for the internally displaced persons. Then you also spoke of infrastructure. We have to, because the infrastructure in those areas were totally destroyed by the Tamil Tigers. We are first and foremost, we are building the roads, the A9 road, A32 road. Roads are being widened. Then we have to look at the buildings, the hospitals, the government buildings, the other necessities like the civil administration is being set up, the courts, the police, as well as the electricity, hospitals, water. All those services are being provided gradually, and at the same time we have opened the banks, the National Development Bank, and also some of the commercial banks, as the Bank of Ceylon, the Hatton National Bank, Ceylon Bank, Commercial Bank. There are many branches. Then we are also encouraging investment to the north. The Board of Investment in Sri Lanka has set up 2 offices, one in Jaffna as well as Trincomalee. Then at the same time, something that is very necessary is to have the people integrating. We have thousands of people from the south, Sinhalese, Muslims, Tamils as well, who could not go to Jaffna, who could not go to the north. Their people are traveling freely to the north, and the people are getting to know each other, integrating, and that also helps in the reconciliation process. So there is a lot of activity going on in the north as well as east.
Ms. Wagheswara, sorry I have to interrupt you because we're running out of time. This is great, the infrastructure development, but there's also the question of addressing the Tamil demand for equality. The war may have ended, but that question remains unanswered. How is the government planning to address those demands? And it seems reluctant to agree to a federal setup. What is your plan for lasting peace in the country?
Yes, well, let me say that the government conducted 2 elections recently. That is the presidential election in January and the general election in April. And the the Tamil National Alliance, that is the Tamil Party, they have elected, the Tamil people themselves have elected 14 members of parliament from the TNA, as well as 8 members from the government party. And let me say, out of the 8 members in the government party, there are 2 cabinet ministers, 2 Tamil cabinet ministers and 2 deputy ministers. That is, out of the 8, 4 are already ministers, as well as there are 3 members of parliament also from the UNP. So altogether there are about 25 Tamil members of parliament in a parliament of 225. So the Tamil people there are looking for peace, reconciliation, and also political settlement through their members of parliament who have been elected, and the government is also in the process of providing, looking into political devolution, a package which will be looked into very soon. At the same time, the government has also, it was only yesterday that the government, the president announced the setting up of a commission of inquiry. Commission of inquiry to look into lessons learned and reconciliation.
And Ms. Wagiswara, sorry again, I have to interrupt you because we run out of time. How can Canada help in this process of reconciliation in Canada, in Sri Lanka, and the redevelopment in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, Canada and Sri Lanka, we have been maintaining very close relations right throughout. We got our independence in 1948, and from that time onwards, Canada has been a major development partner. But at the same time, if we are to talk about the present, we know that there is a large, huge Sri Lankan community. In fact, the largest Sri Lankan diaspora, the Tamil diaspora, is in Canada. And let me say that Canada has a role to play in the sense Canada has to be aware of, I know Canada is aware of all the activities that are still going on in Canada by the Tamil Tigers who were involved in terrorist activities even outside the country. If I'm talking about Canada, we know there was a large amount of terrorist financing, fundraising, as well as, and let me also refer to the most recent case which was taken up by the Canadian court in British Columbia, where Tamil, Mr. Thampiture was sentenced for terrorist financing. Let me say that he is one person who has been convicted, sentenced, but at the same time Canada knows, the intelligence services, the Canadian government knows of the huge financing, the terrorist collection of terrorist money that has been collected in large measure in Canada, and especially in Toronto. And there are and even though the war is over, the fundraising is still going on, and that's an issue that is being looked at by the Canadian government, which is also a national security issue for Canada. So that's something that and at the same time, let me also refer to the election, so-called election, which was held recently, election for a transnational government of Tamil Eelam, which I must say is the people who are involved with this election are the same people who have come out, the LTT, the Tamil Tigers, who have come out with a different phase. They are still trying to keep this movement alive outside the country. In Sri Lanka, there is total peace, but outside the country, some of the leaders who have been working and sending money, sending arms, smuggling, indulging in human smuggling, narco-terrorism, all these illegal activities, they are still trying to keep this movement alive, this group alive. And
High Commissioner Wagiswara, sorry we've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll continue to talk to you and cover Sri Lanka, especially during this one-year anniversary of the end of the Civil War. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.